James?
All right, James.
So, as you guys know, a couple weeks ago we had a fundraiser, just to throw that out there, and we raised over $100, which is not bad.
Outstanding.
But in regards to that, we do have a donation box back there in case you guys do feel led by the Lord to donate. We also have receipts for your taxes, and we have a Square reader in case you want to donate by card. So, just to give you guys a little bit of insight behind James Cerebral Palsy Foundation, let me first say, if Mark were here right now, he'd get 3 questions max. So a little bit about my story, my history. A lot of people don't know what cerebral palsy is. And the easiest way to describe it is it's an adult version of the stroke. Or sorry, a childhood version of an adult stroke. The difference between it, there's a few differences. A stroke as an adult you can heal from it. Cerebral palsy, it neither gets worse and it neither gets better. It pretty much is dormant. You are how you are for the rest of your life. Unless, of course, the good Lord says you're healed, which is a rarity. But I was diagnosed, well, they found the cerebral palsy at 8 months old. So I'm 40 now, so old my birth certificate should say expired on it. But, so I've had to learn how to fight my way through life. I've had this dream of having this nonprofit, this vision of having this nonprofit for about 15 to 20 years. The thing that kind of threw it through a loop was my mom and my brother were my court-appointed conservators for 20 years. So if they had said no, that's where it ended. So we're going to go over some topics here. Why JCPF was founded, our team, our mission, who we serve, educating the public, them our fighting words, and how you can help, our website. So first, why JCPF was founded. James Cerebral Palsy was founded to have, foundation, or as some called it, JCPF, not to get confused with JCP Penny Foundation, was founded to assist individuals in learning how to advocate for themselves. There's a difference between having somebody advocate for you. That should be a last resort. If you can learn how to be independent, if you can be trained up on knowing that the government gives you certain rights, there's a reason we have the Americans with Disabilities Act. There are certain rights that are given that not even businesses know about. The government, I always say the government was good about implementing them. They were horrible about educating people on them. For example, the Service Animal Act. They recently changed this, but for a long time, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, there were only 2 animals that were deemed service animals. Dogs and miniature ponies. Imagine taking a miniature pony on a city bus. I had so many drivers say, Coldane hell, before we take a miniature pony on the city bus, before we allow a miniature pony. But yet, at the same time, they wouldn't be able to stop it. But to give a little bit of insight on the abuse, because I'm bound to bus a trolley, I've seen people try to claim that their snake is a service animal.
Yeah.
I've seen them try to claim that their baby alligator is a service animal. If you saw recently, it was a few years ago on YouTube, some lady tried to take an emotional support peacock on the plane. And that bird was not qualified to fly, unfortunately. So these are our board members, obviously myself, Michael Gerchek, and John Williams. He's our CFO, Chief Financial Officer. I'm going to talk real quick because of our mission. Our mission is to empower individuals with disabilities to advocate for themselves. There is nothing better than being able to be independent. Granted, we are all dependent a lot of times on each other. That's just a given, that's the way it should be. But as much independence as you can do on your own, the more empowered you are to continue doing it. Did I have a question back there? Oh. As I said, I've had to learn how to fight my way through life. Every step of the way, have to fight. There are certain companies, I won't even go to customer service anymore. I'll go straight to the top, to corporate. I will search online if there is no corporate number on their actual website, 99.9% of the time, I know how to find it. There are websites out there, such as third-party websites such as corporateofficehq.com, which has done extensive research to find corporate numbers. There are some that will hide it, such as Starbucks. We'll try to hide their corporate number as best as possible. So it's basically to try to get them to understand. You have, like the old He-Man cartoon, I have the power. They have the power within them to bring it out. A lot of times what happens is people, especially those that, unlike myself, most do not want to talk about it because they're either embarrassed by it, they're ashamed that they have it. That's the portion of the mental portion, trying to break them out of that shell. My ultimate dream would be able to take people with disabilities out. Are you raising your hand over there, Carlos?
No, we're good.
Okay. My ultimate dream would be to be able to take people with disabilities out on camping trips, along with the agencies that assist them to help them be broken out of their shell. The problem is, most camping trips like that cost at least $5,000 up front. That would be my ultimate goal. I would love to be able to take them on, other disability ministries or organizational trips that can speak to them in a way that most people can. There's an organization here in San Diego called, why am I flaking on that name? Never mind. It'll come to me. People's First Conference. And People's First does very similar to what we do, with People's First does similar to what we do, but theirs is more of the continuous public speaking, not necessarily teaching them how to advocate. I have never been to a People's First Conference, but it's located right here in San Diego.
Oh.
How do we teach people with disabilities? We provide them with the resources, training, and education they need to achieve their goal of being their own advocate. There are a few different ways we do this. I will go out into the public. Michael here will go out into the public, and he will help educate them in person. Another way is through our website. We have extensive resources on our website, not just all the way from Alaska, all the way to Washington, D.C. Some pages may only have one resource. Others, like California, have 20 or more. We also have resources for discounted services for people with disabilities, such as AT&T has our AT&T Access. There's another one, Amazon has their Amazon Prime for $6.99 a month, plus taxes, as long as you qualify with like food stamps or Medi-Cal, or some states call it Medicaid. So there's different ways to do it. Who we serve, obviously, that should be obviously the disability community. But see, it's not just those with disabilities from birth, it's not just those who had a disability over time, it's not just those with cerebral palsy. We also branch out to disabled veterans like Mike. Mike was my very first client before the foundation was even formed. Let me tell you, it took a long time for him to get where he's at today. He was a piece of work. But it's really rewarding when you can help somebody achieve that goal.
Yes.
And that's part of our mission there, is helping them achieve that goal. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Educating the public. The way we educate the public is by trying to change the narrative, easiest way to describe it, somebody walking on the other side of the street. Such as with, when you see a homeless person. A lot of times what we do is we give them the bad look and we walk on the other side of them. It's educating the public that, hey, even though we may be disabled, most cases you can't catch what we have. Like you can't catch cerebral palsy. There's no way. Might be able to catch AIDS or HIV, which is a disability in itself because it's debilitating to your body. May not be considered covered under the ADA. And ADA is, again, Americans with Disabilities Act. But it's changing that narrative of the public perception, hey, this person's nothing. We have our own unique qualities. One of the blessings, shall I say, that I've learned how to do is do American Sign Language with one hand. Not the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm not certified, but I've had the opportunity in the past, for almost 10 years, to interpret for a deaf inmate in Donovan State Prison. In most cases, the state of California requires you to be certified, and granted, I can understand that. But the way the local prison system saw it was that if they are not going to complain, we are not going to do anything. So they left it at that. Any questions so far? Yeah.
How do you get cerebral? How do you get cerebral palsy?
A lot of times in most disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, happen when in the mother's womb. Could be something as simple as the umbilical cord wrapping around the neck, cutting off the oxygen to the brain. So it's considered brain damage. It's actually a miracle that I'm even being able to speak like this because at 7 years old, I had brain surgery. And the portion that they took out controlled my speech. But the only scientific explanation that the doctors could come up with is that the speech remapped to a different side of the brain. However, my mom would say you never shut up in the first place. And my friend who has the same disability I do, except his is more extensive, he's wheelchair bound, would say, well, they screwed that up then, didn't they? So, just to kind of go on a little rabbit trail, a little bit, tiny one. If there are two things I've learned in government, because I have to be involved with it, first, if it makes sense, why would they do it? Yeah. And secondly, there are 4 types of speeds to anything. Slow, slow, slowest, and none. And half of the time, it's the none.
Some collecting money.
Right. So them are fighting words. So there are certain words that are just not accepted in the disabled community, especially, and it does depend on the age bracket. I've learned that. It depends on what, generation you grew up in. One of them, retarded. There's a reason for that. Those of you that are as old as Mike would know that back in the day, people would just, before the Rehabilitation Act, which the ADA was a spin-off of the Rehabilitation Act. Before that, people with disabilities were thrown in mental institutions, not being able to be a part of society. So the word today, just like if and I'll say it like this, just if I were to call a African American word the N-word, it would be an insult most likely to them. The word retarded is an insult to most people with disabilities. Any other? No? Okay. So I recently ran into an incident when the whole, as I like to call it, beer virus, COVID, was in place. Because of Corona, when they first came out, there's a reason why they had to change that name. The state of California implemented a mask exemption clause. And that mask exemption clause meant it was like a laundry list of things that people with disabilities were exempt from even possessing a mask unless it was a doctor's office or a hospital. And right as the whole mask thing was phasing out on MTS, I was the last passenger on the bus, and it was the last bus of the day. This driver hates my guts significantly because I will hold him accountable. And he said to me as I'm getting off the bus, well, you know, even retarded little girls in wheelchairs can put a mask on. I flipped. I was livid. You don't want to get me to that point. I was livid. He knew a complaint was coming, so he told his boss before it even hit the desk. And it was as a direct, yeah. Mike, you have a question?
No.
Okay. First of all, as I said, it was a direct insult towards me because he hates me that much. 50% of the drivers love me, 50% of the drivers hate me. And it comes down to the accountability thing. But first of all, to use the R word towards me is unacceptable. Secondly, to use little girls in a wheelchair, to me sounds like pedophile talk.
That's not good.
I don't care how much you want to try to slice that. That's just my opinion. Next one, hearing impaired. Yeah, hearing impaired. Now, the government still uses hearing impaired. But not every single, I understand why it's there, but especially in the deaf community, there are two words they prefer now. Hard of hearing or deaf. Those are the two words, because to say hearing impaired, it's, again, it depends on the generation. It can be considered an insult. Deafy. I didn't hear this one until I was taking sign language in college. Never even heard of this one. It is an old school term, again, not something you really want to use in your profession. Deaf and dumb. Again, it goes back to the old school of people in institutions that were put away. Oh, they're just dumb. You know, they're not going to amount to anything. They're not going to be able to do anything. I'm living proof that you can. You know, first of all, just to fight a conservatorship in court is not an easy thing. Most don't get dismissed. But luckily I had a judge that said, you know what, James has to pull up his bootstraps and learn how to walk on his own 2 feet. Acceptable words. Special needs. As I said, deaf or hard of hearing. Disabled. There's another few that go along with disabled. Disability, disabilities. I only saw one example, and this was on YouTube, where somebody said, do not call me special. You know, we're all special in our own ways. But he specifically made it clear, and you can look it up, it was, what's the basketball player's name? Not Kobe Bryant.
Michael Jordan?
No, forget his name. But one of the players actually was in a plane, one of his private jets.
Kobe.
No, it was CP3, Chris Paul. Chris Paul. And he was in a plane, and one of his buddies called him and said, I need you to go here and check this dude out. This dude only had one hand. No, his arm was here due to amniotic band syndrome, which is where the amniotic fluid does not form properly around the arm, so the rest of the arm can't form. And that again happens while in the mother's womb. This dude was dunking over massive high schoolers, almost like Michael Jordan style dunks. And the kids hated it. Because again, the prejudice towards those with disabilities. So, as I said, there are certain words you really do not want to use. Go ahead. So how can you help? Donate, donate, and donate, and one more donate. Of course, spread the word about our nonprofit. There's different ways you can donate. Again, the box is back there. We have receipts. We have the Square Reader. And you can also go to our website, jamescpfoundation.org, and look, there's a big red donate button on the top right. And you can also write a check or a money order or whatnot at your convenience, and send it to P.O. Box 1406, Lakeside, California 92040. And we will, if you do it online, you will get a digital copy of a receipt for your taxes. And if you so choose to send a check or a money order or a cashier's check, and you're requesting a receipt, we got no problem sending it out. So you would just, if you send a check, just please put in the note that, something in the note, hey, I'd like to have a receipt. We will write one out. We won't worry about you signing it because typically on the receipts, there's 2 signatures required for accountability. The representative from the nonprofit and the person receiving it. So at that point, if we're mailing it out, don't worry about putting your signature down. Next. Okay, so this is when we had the opportunity, me and Mike, to go meet Mark the Spark at his studio. I gotta give him props, he's really good at what he does. Although, again, he talks too much. But I can't judge him for that because, again, I did the same thing. Yeah. So our website is https://jcpfoundation.org. I did not put this on there, but if you can remember it or want to write it down, our phone numbers are, our local number is 619-663-7194. Our toll free is 888-993-6927. Yes?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking, what a great.
Oh.
Great.
Our fax number is 61, yeah, okay, go ahead.
James, I have a question. So could you speak to how uniquely you talked about your relationship with Mike and getting to know him? Your unique position to be able to reach out to someone who is in a situation where they are disabled versus a government service or someone who is not walking in your same moccasins?
Well, first of all, dealing with government in any situation is difficult. But for me, at least, we're based upon right now on referral. But for me, it's easier to deal with a person with a disability than it is to deal with the government in more unique situations than one.
If you could, all right, how's that?
There you go.
If you could describe the experience that somebody would have when they come to you for help and assistance. Do they have a counseling session? Are they just given information, or is there real hands-on training, that sort of thing?
First, we need to know what their specific need is. So we have an intake form which is located on our website, and it's a complete fill-in intake form. So they would fill it in, and then they can digitally sign it if they so desire to. After we know what the unique circumstances are, whether it's training or whether it's applying for CalFresh, whatever the case may be, we will, we go from there.
James, Harry, nice work, really nice presentation. And you haven't met my wife yet. She was born blind, but where do you see JCPF 10 years from now?
I would love to see it across the entire United States, personally. Maybe in other countries, but specifically across the United States. Since my time as living in, we have one more slide of one of our clients giving her testimony. Go ahead. Just press the space bar.
Name is Shelley, and I own the Thieves Foundation, a big high five, because if it wasn't for Jay, I wouldn't be receiving the things I have. He has helped me in many ways. Mike has been a help to me as well. I have my Social Security benefits the way they were before they got carved away because of Jay. I got my food stamps set up because of him, and got an increase even at that. And that's what the nonprofit has done for me. Now he's helping me with my my hair insurance. So the nonprofit organization is a good place to start.
Yeah. thank you for listening and letting me share. I believe we have one,
Thank you, James.
yep, we have one
Yeah.
small speaker.
Yes, thank you, James. Okay, I met Mr. Kaplan America this week, and I'm going to tell you, Stan Kaplan America, I'm going to tell you, he has energy and we can't let him slow down, so I invited him to this class so he could share his energy with us. And I'm just telling you, he's on the road for America, and what he says, take it to heart, because we need more people like him, and please support him. Please stand, come on up.
Thank you very much. You know, politics is not our favorite subject. I've been in it since last January, about 15 months. I ran against Sarah Jacobs in District 51. She's the incumbent, she's very socialist, and I couldn't stand her platform and what, she stood for. I will tell you that what I've learned in the last 15 months has been a little disheartening. To me, I understand why politicians don't have a very high approval rating. Once you get in, it's like a club, I don't care which party, and I don't hear them speaking up for their constituents. They seem to be very self-serving, so I was not going to run again, but I've decided that I'm going to. And win or lose, I've got things to say that nobody else will. And I know I don't have a lot of time, but if you will just reference the back of this flyer that I have, and the first thing on here talks about the homeless situation. And everybody seems to be bewildered on what to do. The state of California over the past few years has spent over $20 billion on homelessness, and it's only gotten worse. And you wonder why, because if the word gets out anywhere in this country that you don't want to work and you want to come have a motel room and 3 meals a day and go out and get drugs and molest little girls and you're not going to get prosecuted, then why not come to California? So here's the deal. Let's put the word out that a new sheriff's in town. These people that are living all over the street, it's not compassionate for them, and it's not compassionate for the people that they're harassing and ruining their property fronts and creating crimes and being a nuisance to society. These people need to be told, if you're on the street, we're going to take you voluntarily or involuntarily to a professional treatment center. You're going to get good help there, and at the same time, we're going to do our best to do job training. But here's the kicker. We're not letting you out until you can be self-sufficient. You're not laying around the street anymore. You're not going to be a burden to society. So, I don't hear anybody else coming out with this. You got to start saying it. One more. I know I'm limited on time. Who's saying no welfare or free health care for illegals? Since when should U.S. citizens be put in back of people that are not even supposed to be in this country? Our infrastructure is broken. They're a burden on our housing, our health care, our educational systems. I'm saying that everybody, please go to my site, KaplanAmerica.com or KaplanForCongress.com. You're going to hear 20 points where I speak up. And that's the reason I'm running, because no one else will do it, and I'm appealing to people from all parties that want a common sense approach to bring the United States of America back to what our founding fathers envisioned and the lifestyle which you and I were accustomed to that they're destroying. So if anyone would like to help, I'm not asking for money. I'm asking, I've got a few bundles of these. Pass them out. You go to the grocery store. You go to Home Depot. You go to anywhere where there's a crowd. Just hand them out. Put the message out. Go to my website. And let's start pushing back on all the nonsense. Thank you very much.
Bless you and thank you, and I'm sure we'll have you back again to speak. Okay, now we've got Mr. Craig. Ooh,
Folks, I need your help on,
It should be going.
I good? Yeah, I need your help on getting reviews. My book is live on Amazon. It's called The Libyan Amazons and the Conquest of Continents. It's a true story, it's nonfiction. You're gonna love it, you're gonna actually love it. I'm working on book 2, which, folks, you can't make this up. Reality is stranger than fiction. Okay? You know, and I don't know why it hasn't been told. Basically, you have an early Alexander the Great creates an army of 33,000, basically conquers the world, literally. It's crazy. It's a crazy story. Hasn't been told. You'll love it. So sign up and then give me a review. What? What's the takeaway? Give me a review. Thank you.